Welcome back to our show. I'm your host, Dan Edwards, managing broker of the Eastside real estate team, and I am here with our good friend Brandon Brockway-Ring. He is the owner of Key Inspection Services LLC. This company's been around for 20 years, and he took over recently. It's been a few years. It's been about a year now, right? After being the
Yep.
lead inspector for the past 8. He comes from a family that's in the construction industry, and he just remembers running around on roofs. That sounds safe. When he was less than 5 years old. I remember sunbathing on a roof. That was really stupid. But he's been around the house a lot, and he got into home inspections after trying a different route, working in sales. And he learned that being in the trades was way more his calling. He discovered inspections, and it's been nonstop from there. Brandon, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me back.
All right. So, Brandon, today we're going to talk about roofs. So I would like to hear from you. What is the craziest thing you've seen, or maybe the worst thing you've seen when inspecting a roof?
As amazing as it is, a lot of new homes, how they cut corners on some of these roofs. So it's simple things of like flashing. You've heard of flashing before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's just pieces of plastic, metal, waste to divert water. You go up on the roof and you don't even see them there. And so, we'll go in, do the 11-month warranty inspection because people think, I don't really need it. But that time, they've had water going in their attic, and all of a sudden there's this black stuff growing in their attic, and they've got all these issues over something that costs less than $5 typically. Usually less than $20 to be safe on other forms of flashing. So flashing is a big one we see on roofs that people just,
new construction where they don't put flashing, and that would be kind of give us a visual for our listeners, because we do have some people that don't see this, but where two corners come together, or perhaps where the gutters are connected to the fascia.
Yep. So where two fields of a roof come together, there should be a metal piece that comes down, or you can lap the shingles. There's different ways of doing it. But a lot of times you'll see, on especially nicer roofs, you should see a piece of metal in there, or you should see where air comes in and out of the house. There's these boxes you see on top of roofs. Those boxes should exist up there. We had one just a couple months ago where it was 11-month warranty, and they didn't have any of the boxes on the roof. It was actually just raining in the house. So their insulation luckily was absorbing
raining
the
in the
water.
house?
It was because the water was just coming in through the squares on the roof.
So the squares were there, but there were no boxes like air vents, right? Is that what they're called? What's the word?
Roof vent.
Roof vent. So they actually in the plywood they cut a square and then just put shingles over the top. Didn't actually cut the shingle out and put the box in, right?
Yeah, you could go up on the roof. You can look right into the attic, right from the roof.
Wait, so the shingles were cut out, and it was still
shingles were cut out.
Is this a new construction home?
Yeah, it was their 11-month warranty inspection. So they went 11 months roughly. It was 10 months in the scheme of it all. They went with just big boxes of holes. When you were in the attic, you could see right where.
Why are those holes on my roof? I feel like somebody would see that. Is that a high roof?
2 stories. You can see it from the road. As soon as I drove up, I was like, "Oh, I see my first problem." So, yeah.
Yeah. So if somebody's driving up to a house, right? Because I show houses all the time when we're looking at houses. What do you look for just from an eye line, like from the outside of the roof? What are you looking at?
Yeah, a lot of it, you'll look and see. First of all, see if there's anything. It's Seattle. We got some cloudy days for the most part, but when it's sunny out, you can really see a lot from the sun. So when you're driving up, if you have a good reflection off the roof, that's going to show you have you're down to where the fiberglass is, and that's going to show you that you have an aging roof. So that's one easy way to spot it. As well as when you're at the ground, try to get so where you're looking straight up the field of the roof. And if you see any cupping of the shingles, any curling, any deformation of the shingle, that's going to be a quick, easy way to indicate from the ground that the shingles are kind of bad.
So backing up a little bit is if you see a kind of a reflection or kind of the light kind of glowy off of it, it means you're close to the fiberglass, meaning the granulars have kind of worn off, right? And then looking up the roof, you're going to look to see if it's kind of curving along stuff like that. Cupping is what you called it. And then
Yep.
it's also like the edges, right? I've always looked at like the very edges. You can see a worn out shingle will have more cracking and kind of wear on the edge of the shingle, right? Now, what about cedar roofing product? How do you tell if that's old or not?
Cedar is gonna, one thing you look at first is the thickness of it. It's gonna tell you kind of what the typical lifespan is. So I kind of do that and I look at the year. But then I'm looking for similar things, the cupping. You'll see shingles that will it'll look like this. It's kind of bowing way up. That's one way to show that, it's kind of getting older. Looking just, you'll be able to see maintenance. One thing I always recommend, typically on those houses, you have 2 stories. Go up on the 2nd floor and look right down, look out a window, and you'll look right at the shingles. I say that for all shingles. It's an easy way to kind of spot the condition of them. But a lot of times it's going to be that. You're going to look for splits. If you see splits in those or gaps on the roof,
in the cedar shingles, splits in the cedar shingles, right? Because underneath cedar shingles, there's no plywood. Not most of the time, right? There's no plywood sheathing. It's just kind of like a lattice kind of lath, right? And then paper. Yep. Yeah, and
sometimes no paper.
Sometimes no paper. Yeah, and they do that because cedar kind of breathes a little bit better. It needs to breathe, right? It's not supposed to be up against wood. What is your favorite type of roof? I mean, we've got metal, we've got cedar, we've got composite, tile. What's your favorite type? What have you seen that's like super durable?
The most durable that we're going to see around here, I mean, my favorite type would be slate, but we're not all going to have slates. Very, very fancy. So I would say metal. If you're going to go with something that's really, it's going to, low maintenance, it's going to last a very long time. As long as you get, a certain type of metal roofs, don't get the one with all the fasteners on the top. Get the ones where they clamp everything down essentially, and they really seal it up that way. It's going to last you a super long time. But if you want slate and you have deep pockets, go for it.
Yeah, actually, I sold a house to my friend that had a slate roof on it, and it had a leak, and it was such a pain to fix because typically they don't, right? But because it was, they had to pull up so much, and it's heavy. It's it's thick. It's like, and the joists that they had, the joisting that was done in the house to hold that slate roof was more robust than a normal one. So. I like the idea of a slate roof, but when the problem arises, I'm kind of like, not so much, right? So aside from looking from the outside, what are some other indicators that somebody's roof may be in trouble?
A lot of it, obviously look when you're on the inside. If you can pop your head into the attic, you're going to get the biggest story when you look in the attic. You can go look at the roof. I had one earlier today where those shingles themselves don't look like they're that bad of shape. Once I got into the attic, I was able to see a lot more. Another indication is if you walk around the house, look at what they call the soffit. So when you're looking at the underside of the roof that sticks out from the house part, that area right there, if you see staining, you see any kind of moisture coming from there, that's going to be another way to show you that the roof is kind of, something's not installed right or something's kind of really done wrong. Like this house, for example, I think the roof was sliding off because they put one layer of shingle on top of the other layer, and you guys just see it sliding. The roof is
the weight was basically pulling it down. Can't you put like up to 3 layers of roofing on a roof?
They say you can by regulation, but we don't really recommend it. So your roof's not going to just last as long as it's designed for. You can get things like the shingles will slide off your roof. They'll just gravity wins, nature wins kind of thing. And then it can affect your attic area as well. It's not going to breathe the way it should. So, affects multiple components of the home by just multiple layers. But they do say you can do up to 3. So, you're calling what you want to do, but it can get more costly in the long run.
So what can a homeowner do to extend the life of the roof?
It's maintenance, proper maintenance. So number 1 is do not pressure wash.
Hold on. I was going to say proper maintenance.
Yes, that's a big key right there. You want to do not pressure wash your roof. You are going to damage the roof, especially if it's an asphalt shingle roof. So it's got little pebbles up there that basically protect the roof called granules. And so there's something like that. But, really go up there. There's a powder they make in the Northwest. This is what we do because we have a lot of rain here. We have a lot of cloudy days that allow moss to grow. And that's the reason why people pressure wash the roof. Instead, get powder. Take the powder, hire somebody if you're not good on roofs, get somebody who's okay on roofs. Go up there and put that powder on there at least once a year. You put it on there a couple days before it rains, washes off, and that will help protect the roof from any further damage. And there'll be different treatments for different kinds of roof. So like cedar shake, as you mentioned earlier, you're going to do a different treatment for that where they're going to spray it. It's kind of like a sealant, but still allows it to expand and contract. So when it gets wet, it expands to seal everything up. But it still protects it so it doesn't start rotting out. So most of us have asphalt shingle roofs though. So, that powder is going to be the big thing. Make sure the fasteners are sealed. Just, it's any penetration on the roof, you want to make sure it's properly sealed up. That's going to be a lot of the maintenance is keep moss off and keep penetration sealed.
Okay. So then, Brandon, thank you so much for your tips on that. Brandon does pre-inspections, which are prior to being in contract, seller pre-inspections, and post-inspections. What else do you do?
We do, if you need sewer scopes, air quality testing, mold testing, manufacturer home, if you need a certification for that. We do water testing. We do thermal imaging. We do it for a big one that we've been doing a lot lately also is maintenance inspections. People who own homes, they need to know what's going on with their home. You go to the doctor to get a checkup. You take your car in for an oil change. Get your home looked at. It's your biggest asset that you have. Like it's important. And then it's your health and safety. So maintenance.
You should send somebody in your crawl space at least once every 5 years in the Northwest, because you never know if something gets in there, and if something gets in there and then it stays for a while, then it becomes a worse problem. So if you don't want to go in your crawl space like me, I don't like doing that. Send Brandon, right?
Yeah, we'll be there to do it.
All right. Thank you